Hare Krishna. So, we are continuing the first chapter, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we have already discussed how the scene started with Dhritarashtra's question, and then Sanjay explaining what's happening on the battlefield. And both the sides, they blew their conch shells, and there were certain signs of victory for the Pandavas. And then we concluded with 20th verse yesterday, where Arjuna, he was about to take his bow and arrows, and just the war was about to begin, and he spoke something to Lord Krishna. So what is that? We will go to the 21st verse, 21st, 22nd together. Okay. Anjali Mataji, are you available to read, or you are in the bus or college? Okay, no problem. This has some purport. Okay. Nisha Mataji, would you like to read this?
Yes, Mataji. Arjuna उवाच सेनायोर उभयोर मध्ये रथम स्थापय मे च्युत यवद इतन निरीक्षेऽहं योद्धोकमन् अवस्थितन् कैर्माया सह योद्धवम् अस्मिन् राना समुद्यम्. Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, Senaya of the armies, Ubhaya both, Madhya between, Ratham, the chariot, Sthapya, please keep, me, my, Achyuta, oh, infallible one, of Yavat, as long as, Itan, all these, Nirikshe, may look upon, Aham, I, Yuddhokaman, desire to fight, Avasthitan, arrayed on the battlefield, Kaye, with whom, Maya, me, by me, Saha together, Yodhayam, have to fight, Asmin in this, Rana strife, Samudayame in the attempt. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Purport. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein in infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible, although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee. His supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Rikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obst- obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading person present on the battlefield were, although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Hare Krishna. Ma'am.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so what did Arjuna say to Krishna? Um, Before that, I welcome Ishika Mataji. You're joining first time. Thank you for joining. And also Siksha Mataji. Um, so yes, so Arjuna is. It's about the battle is about to begin, and Arjuna. Before that, Arjuna is saying something to Krishna. What is he saying? O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So, like, there are two sides. One side is Duryodhan and his party, and the other side the Pandavas are there. So now Arjuna, before he begins the war, before the war begins, he asked Krishna to actually take him to the, because Krishna is acting as his charioteer, as his chariot driver. So he asked Krishna to take him to the middle of both the sides so that he can actually see who all are assembled on the side of Duryodhan, who all, because he knew all of those who had taken the side of Duryodhan, where his family members, whether his own cousins and his uncles, his grandfather like Bhishma Dev, so all of them were there. So he wanted to just see, like a politician, how they assess the other party's strength, In that sense, he just wanted to see. Now, in the purport Prabhupada, now we can understand this one thing, or we can be sure about one thing, that without Prabhupada's purport, we would not have understood these shlokas, or we wouldn't have understood Bhagavad Gita at all. Because for now, some common person reads this translation, okay, there's nothing so much philosophical or anything for a common person. But when a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, he knows, like, how this particular shloka actually can increase one's devotion for the Lord. Every shloka, because every shloka in Bhagavad Gita, it's all specifically Bhagavad Gita is like it's spoken by the Lord. So apart from that, there are so many Vedic literature, it's all coming from the Lord, but specifically Bhagavad Gita, it is called Gitopanishad. We saw that in the introduction part also. So it's spoken by the Lord, so it's very, very special. So purport, although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in service of his friend. Can you imagine if you are working in a company and the boss, the owner of the company, or the CEO, let's say the owner of the company, you are an employee, and the owner of the company is driving your car. When is it possible? When you and that owner, they are very nice friends, or you are related to each other, you are in good contact with each other, friends or relatives, then this is possible. So we can see for Krishna, his pure devotees are so special that he accepted. He's a supreme personality of the, just by his willing, just like it is said, no, without the desire of the Lord, not even a blade of grass moves like that. So that Supreme Lord, he has become the chariot driver of his pure devotee Arjuna. He never, now there's a significance of this word Achyuta, it was mentioned, infallible. Um, Somewhere it was mentioned, yeah, Achyuta, infallible one. So Prabhupada is giving a meaning to that word. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, is infallible. Uh, there could be different ways to understand this word. Like he is not bound, doesn't come under the material modes of nature. That is also one way. But here, specifically, its meaning is that he never. Now, even if he had to take the role of a chariot driver for his devotee, he did it. Like because he's very affectionate towards his devotees, and thus he is addressed here as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna. Now, if you have a driver, what will you say? Oh, you take me to this place, you take me to that place, I want to go to XYZ area. It's like an order. Huh? So, on the battlefield specifically, so Krishna was carrying out the orders of Arjuna. And since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position. So, of course, he became a charioteer. He has taken the role of a charioteer, but he is at the same time the supreme personality of Godhead. Just like Krishna in Vrindavan, when he was just still in the lap of his mother, Yashoda Maya, he killed demons like Putana, Trinavatra, and so many demons were there. So, though he was in the form of a small baby, but still he is the supreme personality of Godhead. In all circumstances, he is a supreme personality of Godhead, Rishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. So the word Rishikesha, there was an explanation given to it in the previous verses. We have already gone through that. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the servant. Now, this servant, the devotee in the spiritual world, the word servant has a completely opposite meaning to what we understand by the meaning of servant in the material world. In the material world, the master just tries to extract work from the servant, and servant works just for getting salary. There is no loving reciprocation. But a father and a son, so son is also acting as a servant, serving the instructions of the father or obeying the orders of the father, and the father is ordering, but there is a loving reciprocation between them, there is a love between them. So in the spiritual world also, when we say servitor or the devotee and the Lord, so there is the devotee is like serving, eternal servitor of the Lord, and Krishna is the supreme master, is the supreme personality of Godhead. But there is a loving reciprocation between them. The servitor is always wanting to serve the supreme Lord, and the Lord also is always here. We saw that the Lord is infallible. So here the Lord is also very much eager to any opportunity to serve his devotee. He is very much wanting to do that. He takes greater pleasure in his devotees, pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering. Now CEO of the company, no one, an ordinary employee is not going to order the CEO, okay, you have to prepare the report by end of the day or something. He's not going to order like that. But a family member of the CEO, his wife or his children or his friends, they can order, oh, you go and bring sabzi, wife may say like that. So that's a different kind of the relationship of the CEO or the owner of the company in the office is formal, whereas in his family is like personal relation. So if we see here, the Lord also, he is a supreme personality of Godhead, so everybody is worshipping him, offering him homages, I mean to say offering him obeisances and like that. But um, a pure devotee, just like Mother Yashoda or the cowherd friends of Krishna. So if you see in the Damodarashtakam, Damodar Lila, Mother Yashoda was running behind Krishna with a stick, and there's beautiful description in Damodarashtakam how Krishna was in baby. Krishna was like in the form of a baby. He was fearful. Oh my, because Yashoda Mai was coming with a stick, and he was kind of very nice, beautiful description is given there. Similarly, when he would play with his cowherd friends, they sometimes he would get defeated. So the other party, whoever will get defeated, they have to take the other party members on their shoulder. So sometimes Krishna would also get defeated. His side would get defeated, and he would take pleasure in making his friends, cowherd boy friends, sit on his shoulder, and he would take them, like that. So uh, he takes pleasure in assuming the advantages. He takes pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being giver of orders. Since his master, so this we discussed already, but when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering, he obtains transcendental pleasure. Okay, as a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers. So now we can see how the Pandavas were cheated of their, cheated from, they were actually to be enthroned. Yudhishthira Maharaj was actually to be enthroned, should have been enthroned, but they were not given their actual rights and so on. So whatever they went through, still now a normal person would be very eager to actually fight the battle and get back their rights. But here Arjuna, because he's a pure devotee, so he had no desire. He was not, because just before the war also, the Pandavas, they wanted to make a peace settlement, without the war, if a settlement can be made. They asked for 5 villages also. So that was also um, um, not given by Duryodhana. So there were no other option. There was no other option. So they had to come to the battlefield. So Arjuna personally also, or the Pandavas, they had no such desire to fight, because they were all his own cousins and all his own family members and all. But he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was very agreeable, who was not never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see, and that's why Arjuna was very anxious to see who the leading persons present in the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So that was the reason Arjuna actually just wanted to see who all were assembled on the side of Duryodhana. So he asked Krishna to take him to the middle of both the parties. Okay, next verse. I'll read this. Okay, if anybody else, Ishika Mataji, are you available to read this? You can unmute. If not, you can type it in the chat box if you can read this. Probably this time I'll do it. Okay, 23rd verse. Yotsyamanam avekshaham ya eta atra. Okay, no problem. Ya eta atta samagata dhartarashtrasya durbuddhe yuddhe priya chikirshava. Synonyms: Yotsamanan, those who will be fighting. Avekshe, let me see. Aham, I. Ye, who. Te, those. Atra, here. Samagata, assembled. Dhartarashtrasya, for the sons of Dhritarashtra. Durbuddhe, evil minded. Yuddhe. In the fight, Priya well Chikishava Vishin. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation: Let me see those who have come. So Arjuna is further saying, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport: It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. So this was very much from the beginning, in the introduction itself, in the preface, we see it was also mentioned earlier that how the Pandavas were the rightful heir to the throne, but because Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana was always envious of the Pandavas right from the beginning, and Dhritarashtra had his own motive that yes, my son Duryodhana should become the king. Why should Pandavas be the king? And that's how it was well known to everyone that uh, Duryodhana and his side, they were like along with Dhritarashtra, they were they had actually usurped the kingdom of the Pandavas. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. So, I mean, somebody has joined on the side of, uh, Duryodhana was practically irreligious in one sense. So, if somebody has joined a side of Adharma, then they might, general tendency to understand is that they are also of the similar thought process. So Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face. So, from a political point of view, like a good politician will assess the strength of the opposite party, in that sense. Although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. This we have already seen in the previous verses, that when they blew their conch shells, the Pandavas and those on the side of Pandavas, when they blew their conch shells, it shattered the heart of the Duryodhan, those who were on the side of Duryodhan and all. And it was also mentioned that showed that the Pandavas and all, they had full confidence on Krishna. That was one point mentioned there. Okay. Okay, this is a shorter one. This is also short purport, so I'll just complete this also. Now Sanjay Vacha. So where Sanjay came into picture? So in the beginning we saw the Bhagavad Gita. The first shloka began with Dhritarashtra questioning Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is blind, so he is in his own palace, and he was eager to know what is happening on the battlefield. So Sanjaya, his secretary, he got special vision by mercy of his spiritual master Vyasadeva, and he is able to see what's happening on the battlefield. Modern scientists may take credits that okay, we have invented this what is this, television, mobile phones and all, but during that time Sanjay, he was seeing something like, what do you say, mystical television, because there was no television or anything, but by power of mantras and by the mercy of his spiritual master, he was able to envision what was exactly happening on the battlefield, just by mantras. So we can see probably actually in the Vedic culture they were more advanced than what we see in the modern, so-called modern science. Sanjay उवाच एवम् उक्तो ऋषिकेशो गुडाकेशेन भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम्. Synonyms: Sanjay uvacha, Sanjay said, evam thus ukta, addressed Rishikesha, Lord Krishna, Gudakeshena, by Arjuna, Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Senayor of the armies, Ubhayo, both, Madhye, in the midst, Sthapi Itva, placing Rathottamam, the finest chariot. Translation: Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. So Arjuna asked Krishna to please take my chariot in between the two armies. So Krishna is taking the chariot in between the two parties. Purport: in this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. So every word where somewhere Krishna is addressed as Rishikesha, further we'll see somewhere he's addressed as Madhusudana, somewhere he's addressed as Govinda. So every word, why he's addressed like that, has significance. Here also, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesha. So why is so? In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. One who conquers sleep. Now, sleep also means what? Ignorance. So, Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. As Rishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus, he did so and spoke as follows. So, very nice. Many important things are given here. So Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesha, which means that he has conquered sleep. Sleep also is a sign of not only sleep, but it's also a sign of ignorance. We will see further in the Bhagavad Gita the characteristics of people who are in Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. So, in those who are in Tamogun or mode of ignorance, one of the qualities is that they are too much into sleeping and lazy and so on. So there is it's given. We will go when we go further in Bhagavad Gita, we will come across it. So Arjuna has conquered sleep as well as ignorance. How? Because of his friendship with Krishna. So Krishna is elsewhere. It is mentioned Krishna is like a sun, and when there is Krishna Surya Sama Maya hoy andhakar. Jaha, I don't remember the next part. So Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like darkness. So wherever there is sun, when there is light, there is no darkness. So wherever there is Krishna, there is no ignorance. So a devotee of the Lord can never, a devotee can actually never forget Krishna. He's always absorbed in thinking about the name, form, pastimes, everything of the Lord. He's completely absorbed. That is what samadhi means. Samadhi, a common man may think that okay, sitting in meditation and some higher consciousness. So it is not. One has to just sit in meditation and all. That was possible in the previous ages, but in Kali Yuga, specifically, we cannot keep our mind still for even a moment, for even 1 minute. Mind goes from here and there. So practically, only when one is Krishna conscious, one may be engaged in household activities, or one may be working, one may be a brahmachari, one may be doing so many activities from a common person's point of view. But when if he is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, if he is doing everything for Krishna's service, then he is in samadhi. Even if he's all day he's engaged in different activities, if they are Krishna conscious activities, he is in samadhi or a Krishna conscious devotee. So Rishikesha, the word which means Krishna is the master of the senses, and therefore Krishna, of course we know Krishna is present as Paramatma in all of us. So he knows better than us, he knows what is our thinking, feeling, willing, he knows better than how much we know ourselves. So Krishna could understand what was Arjuna's purpose in asking him to take the chariot in between the two parties. So he took the chariot in between the two parties, and then he spoke the following words. So that we will discuss in the next discussion. So I will stop here. If okay, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, or you can. Um, yeah, okay. Nisha Mataji live projector. Yes, it is something like that. Mm, it was. They were. It was. I mean, practical. We will see further. There will be certain verses mentioned where now in the present time there are nuclear weapons, but earlier time there were water weapons. Fire weapons is like nuclear weapons, but there were water weapons, and there were, different kind of weapons, and just by the mantras they could create those kind of, so they were more advanced in the Vedic culture.
Um,
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have two questions to ask. The first is Krishna is partial with his devotees? He's always with Pandavas, and is he too partial at partiality?
Okay.
First question is this, and second question
Okay,
is
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, how to grow patience in bhakti?
Okay, so we'll first come to your first question. A very common, before I answer your question, actually your question will be answered in my question. Now, it's like everybody can tell the answer. Everybody can participate in that. Now, if you are somebody's daughter, so somehow you and your friend are playing or doing something, and both of you are in trouble. So your father or mother, they can at a time, of course, try to save or protect one person. So who will be the first person they will try to protect, you or your friend?
Of course, me myself, me.
Yes, so there is your answer. So but the parent, they are not differentiating. Okay, they are not disliking the other child or anything like that. But similarly for Krishna, all the living entities, everyone is his child. He claims that Aham Bija Pradapita, I am the seed giving father of all these living entities, even plants, insects, worms, humans, monkeys, or animals, all of them. At the same time, he is more inclined to his devotees. It's the same example. If a parent will first of all now try to protect his own child, he's not envious or he's not having enmity towards the other child, but the parent will first protect his own child, then comes a so this is not considered partiality in one sense. At the same time it is, but it is not actually partiality. So in the same way, Krishna is more inclined to his devotees. He gives special attention to his devotees. Um, of course, we can understand that there are so many atheists in the present day, but Krishna is practically providing them the similar way, like air, water, food, and all these things, natural things. Who is providing this? This is provided by Krishna. This is equally provided to somebody who is a devotee, to somebody who is a non-devotee. But a devotee, when he is engaging all his activities, thought, words, activities, everything in service of the Lord, obviously the Lord will reciprocate to him accordingly. So he's not partial, but to the extent we are devoted to him, we get that kind of a reciprocation. So I hope your first question, I mean, are you satisfied with your first question?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So your second question was, can you please repeat, Madhaji?
How to grow patience in bhakti? Like sometimes mind become very impatient that I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, something is getting behind, I'm not doing proper bhakti. Many questions come in the mind. So how to grow patience, Mataji?
Yes, so in Nectar of Instruction, before we started, of course, we had done Bhagavad Gita earlier also, but in between, we were doing a small book of Srila Prabhupada, Nectar of Instruction. So there is a particular verse there. Let me see if I can open it. Utsaha Nishchaya Dharya. There are 6 things which, okay, I think it is visible. There are 6 things which are favorable to our Krishna consciousness. I'll just read this. This is third verse. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. Being enthusiastic, utsahan, nishchayat, endeavoring with confidence, patience. This was your point. Dhairyat, so being patient, then acting regularly, and other things are also there. So these 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So your thought of like, oh, I'm not doing much, I mean, I'm not able to do bhakti properly, that means it is a push. It is not bad. It is a push that okay, others are doing much better, so I'm not able to do. So one thing, this keeps us humble also, as well as it gives us a push that okay, I want to improve. So if I'm not doing, then I should do more. So I'll try to work on my own sadhana and everything in a proper way. Now patience, yeah, practically we have we are not so much used to patience and all in the present day. But we can understand from this verse that it now if I chanted 16 rounds today, I cannot expect to become a pure devotee, tomorrow. So it's not actually practical, because my chanting is also full of offenses. So a devotee has to keep patience. Why? Because we see this particular verse. These 6 things will actually help us to grow in our devotional life, to come to the point of pure devotional service. And therefore, if we are very eager to come to the point of pure devotional service, then we will step by step at least want to develop these qualities, being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence that yes, I will do it, or Krishna will help me, or like that, and being patient, and then following the regulative principles of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and all these, and giving up the association of non-devotees, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So this part was the thing, being patient. So and if you get time, you can go through this verse also, so you will get more explanation from Prabhupada himself about this point. Does that help, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your very nice, intelligent questions. Actually, like my Guru Maharaj, like Gurudev, he mentions that Guru Mata also mentions that asking questions is a sign of intelligence. So we should be eager to ask questions and understand.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, Siksha, I have a question. Some days while chanting, my mind doesn't get fixed on lotus feet of Krishna even for 1 minute. At such moment, should I continue to chant? Okay, I think there was a similar question in the thought for the day recently. I think so. But okay, anyways, yes. So your point was sometimes, some days while chanting, I can say practically my mind is not at all. My mind is always roaming from here and there. So if some days it's you are not able to fix your mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, then you are in a much better position. Because yes, in the beginning, if you see, it is mind is like a child, naughty child, so uh, it's very difficult to control the child unless we give the proper engagement to the child. Otherwise our mind will be like thinking from this thing and that thing. And practically, if you might have noticed that you are doing so many things in the day, you may not be thinking about other things, but when you are sitting for chanting or something, because I practically have experience like that some things 10 years back, 4 5 years back, something not very much related also, I wouldn't even think about it, those things also sometimes come to the mind. So um, yeah, it happens, but we should continue to chant, because it's like mm, you know you have not stayed in a particular house for 10 years, and now you are coming and about to stay. So when you come back home, you will see that it's all dusty, so you will clean it. So when you are cleaning it, all the dust will be in the air, everything, it will be very difficult to even breathe, it will be all dusty around. But that is the way to clean it. If you keep cleaning and cleaning, even if there is dust all around, you just keep cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and after 1 2 hours or something, after your cleaning is finished, it's all clean, it's neat and clean now. So similarly, when we have started this process of bhakti chanting, so there is so much of anarthas in the heart: lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and xyz, so many of them, and in huge quantities from so many lifetimes. So when we start chanting, it's like chetodarpana marjanam, it's the cleaning process. So the cleaning process has begun. So uh, as the same example, when we are cleaning, dusting and all this dust and all will be in the air, the whole room, house will be full of dust. So when we are cleaning our heart also, sometimes it keeps rising, these things of lust, anger, greed, madness, and all this. But we have to keep cleaning, because Krishna consciousness is the way, is the path, as well as the destination. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, we can progress on the path of Krishna consciousness and reach the final destination of pure bhakti. So even if the mind goes here and there, Krishna says to Arjuna, and we'll see further, yato yata nishchalati, matlab, I mean, Arjuna says that okay, it's very difficult to control the mind like that, but Krishna says yes, by practice and determination one can control the mind, one should bring it back. The mind goes here and there, I realize that okay, my mind is going somewhere, so I should bring it back to the holy names. When we are chanting, we should focus in hearing the holy names. My mind goes somewhere, then oh, my mind is getting distracted, let me again bring it back to hearing the holy names. So you have to keep continuing, we have to keep continuing. Sometimes, because the naughty child, the mother will sometimes force the child, no, this is not good for you, you are not going to do this, you have to do this, this is good for you. Sometimes the child has to be forced by the mother, because the mother is a well-wisher. Similarly, we have to understand what's the best for us. There's nothing beyond bhakti. So the mind goes to do or think something which is not favorable to bhakti, we have to chastise the mind and bring it back to what we are supposed to do. So we should continue at that moment also, we should continue. For example, if some important thing, okay, I have to catch my flight in 4 hours, if something like this comes, then okay, let me write it down so that I don't forget it. So that thing is a different thing, but otherwise yes, and after writing it down also we continue to chant. Does that help, Mahataji? Okay, thank you for your very nice question again. Anybody else? Okay, we also have a rule that everybody can share at least one point from what we, either question, or you can share a point or add a point from what we discussed today. Ishika Mataji, would you like to share something? You can write in the chat box if you are not available to speak. And same with Anjali Mataji. Okay, so if not, then we'll close for today. We'll continue from the next verse tomorrow. Thank you so much, Matjis, for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Mataji's Dandavat Pranam.